Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Babes and Babies podcast. I am so excited that you're here to navigate the beautiful chaos that is motherhood, life, and everything in between with us. I'm Aina, and as always, I'm joined by Namrata and Oyinda. So today we are joined by the amazing Stephanie OG. Stephanie is the powerhouse and the cleaning guru behind Fashaya Services. She's also the mummy to beautiful Amy and Emmy, beautiful twins. And she's going to share her experience of motherhood, but also her experience of IVF, the highs, the lows, the toll that it takes on relationships, but also the journey that and the impact it has and how it's shaped her life to date. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, ladies. Happy to be here.
So Steph, you have Amy and Emmy, and you went the route of IVF, right? Or assisted pregnancy. Can you share a little bit with us what led you to that point and how you made that decision?
Okay. It took us about, I'll say 2.5 years to get to that point of deciding IVF was what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
We tried a few other things before we did IVF. So insemination, IUI, that didn't work. I think we did twice. So for me, the natural next step was you want a family, you're going to do something to help you get that family. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for nature to take its course because I think we'd been married for about 4 years at that point. I spoke to a few doctors. I spoke to a few friends who I knew had gone through IVF, and it was an easy decision. I spoke to my husband, and he was on the same page, and the rest is history.
Can I ask, because you said you were married for 4 years at that point, so is it for the first 2 years you weren't trying, or the first year and a half you kind of just wanted to enjoy yourselves before you then thought, okay, I'm actively going to start?
You know how most people do once they get married? It's like, okay, the first year, let's chill, let's enjoy ourselves.
Let's get to know each other.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we did, that's a good point. We did do that for the first year. But for whatever reason, which people still find weird, when I got back from college, I went to do a test on myself. A random test, just because I always knew I wanted a family.
Before you were even married,
I was
right?
not even dating anybody. I just got back, and I had someone who was like an older cousin to me who had some fertility issues. I went through IVF, so I was like, what if I get to that point and that happens to me? So I'm just like, let me go do a test now. So I went into the test. So I had a bit of an idea that I had PCOS. Lean PCOS to be specific back then. And I had discussed that with my husband going into marriage. Like, they told me I might need some assistance with pills and things of the sorts. But both of us just took it as it's not just pills. We'll take pills. The baby will come. But the 1 year passed, 2 year passed, and it's like 3. So at a point, it was like, okay. So I kind of had an idea before, but I didn't think it was that serious.
Yeah. I love the fact that you actually took the leap of faith to take the assistance, because a lot of people will carry on not being stubborn but feeling like, no, my body cannot fail me in this instance. So instead of allowing that, you kind of didn't think of it as your body failing you, but you decided to ask for help.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see me. I'm like 4'11". I weigh like under 100 pounds. So I did used to do a lot of research about people my size and my height. Honestly, I was obsessed with, like, I saw someone
Is it a thing?
It's a thing. Or I saw someone, she's actually a bit, she's a bit of a celebrity in Nigeria, and she had shared her birth story, and she's about my height, and she was telling me how they told her, you're too small to push this child.
I've heard that.
Do you know?
Yes, I've heard that actually.
So many factors. So those are the things I was thinking about. Like, can I actually carry the conceiving part? I didn't think it would be, but I was like, okay, now that I conceive, can you actually carry that child? Can you give birth to that child? So those were the things I was worried about. And you know, when you're doing all this deep dive into YouTube, TikTok, Google,
takes it on a rabbit hole.
So
and it literally,
so and you're carrying twins.
And I was gonna say, and you ended up carrying twins.
Yeah.
That's actually the funny thing. I also, I don't know, you would, like, in Nigeria, a lot of people come from around the world to come do IVF in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of laws
other places. This one is not regulated.
We're not as strict as maybe we should be. So someone like me in America, they'll look at me once and say, you're not putting 2 eggs in me.
Yeah.
So you chose to put 2.
Girl, at the point I said 3 and they put those 3 in me.
3. What you had triplets?
Girl, at the point, because the first one didn't go through. I'm like, the 3 eggs died. So I'm like, what a chance. Okay, what if one just sticks? I'm like, okay, let's try again. Nothing stuck. So
wait, so you did multiple?
Yeah, I did 2 rounds of IVF, 2 rounds of IUI. So the first one I did 3, second one I did 2. And the 2. So the first one, the 3, none of them stuck.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times they say the first round doesn't work in general. Even for me, my first round didn't work.
But our friends did, remember?
Yes.
I guess the probability.
But probability-wise, when you talk to most women, especially ones that go to IVF for fertility issues,
as opposed
to convenience, or as opposed to
it's
wanting
not
to
because
select
of
gender.
It's because of them.
Yeah,
correct. That's a good point. And for me, I'll say I'm one person that's like, trust the doctors. I'm not a professional. Whatever they say. But that first round, I had a feeling I was doing too much and they were doing too much. So I ended up, I don't know if you've heard of OSS. It's like an overstimulation. Yeah, so they overstimulated me with hormones. So that first round, I felt pregnant. I looked pregnant. So listen to yourselves, ladies, as much as you don't know, because I had a feeling I'm like, you're doing too much.
So I'm very much like you. I went through the process in blind, and my first round, it was a disaster from start to finish. And they did exactly what you're saying. They overstimulated me. They put too many hormones in. They rushed it. They said, yes, they do it now. It was all about the cell and not really about me. And, we went through the process. I felt terrible. We did the extractions and I did not get a single embryo from the process.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's emotionally, you go through all of that and you don't even make it to the end and it's a fail.
Yeah.
And how that makes you feel is terrible. But it's for exactly the same reason, overstimulation. And people, I don't think, realize how much has to go into preparing for IVF. You have to talk about the before, the during, the after. I mean, for you, Stephanie, it's such an emotional roller coaster. Were there any particular moments that stood out as especially tough or surprising? And how did you manage to keep going through it?
I'll say the OHSS was the hardest part of the whole journey. I'm talking from trying to carrying to giving birth. That 2-month period where I couldn't walk straight, I couldn't stand straight. They had to tap me to get the fluids out. It was just the worst 2 months. I don't think anything compares to that. So in terms of my 9 months, honestly, amazingly good. Surprisingly good.
That was the easy part of the process.
Was the easy part. I didn't, honestly, third trimester, conversation for later. But for the most part, it was, I think the OHSS was the only part I'll say I had a tough time with.
So you had done IVF once before and IUI twice before you successfully were able to carry your twins.
So on my 4th try for assistance, I
did you have to do transfers or extractions in between your IVFs, or did you just do one time, pull all your eggs out, get all your embryos out, and then take the next
That's
step?
a very good question, because this makes a big difference in women. For me, luckily, one time. And they pulled so many. We were even scared at how many. It was over 20, like how many were fertile and good and ready to be worked with. So I was lucky to just have to do it once.
And usually with what you have, you usually do end up with lots of eggs. Whereas I had the exact opposite problem. I made the conscious decision to do multiple rounds of what would be extractions to get enough eggs, to get enough embryos, just to then one time then go through the transplant carrying process. Because I knew if I got really excited and implanted and carried a baby and delivered, by the time I went back to do another round of extractions, my stats would be worse, my numbers would be worse, everything would just have been harder because it would have been a year and a half later. So you have to really even think about that level of planning and detail when you make these decisions is what do you start when? How do you do it? Like, it's almost planning 2 years or 3 years of your life out.
It's so sad. Like, it makes me feel really emotional thinking about how you guys didn't just get to enjoy and get nervous about that kind of, oh my God, I'm pregnant. It
didn't fall pregnant.
Yeah, it's traumatic,
Yeah.
kind of like, because even just the trying again, nobody talks about how hard it is to say, let's try again. And you keep on having to do it if you want something, you know?
It takes away from the excitement.
Yeah.
of it.
Definitely.
There's no surprise. That's for
There's
sure.
no surprise.
There's no surprise.
Because even if you're trying and you conceive without assistance, there's still an element of like, oh my God, you know what I mean?
You keep taking tests just to check, and then it's
Yeah. And it even affects the partners as well, because
Of course, I was
both
just going to
ends.
say, because like the IVF process, like no one really does it alone. So like how your partner, your friends, your family, like how do they support you? And was there anything that really stood out? Or maybe they didn't even know. Well, obviously your partner would know.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people don't really speak with their friends, even family, about. So what happened with you?
I mean, thankfully, I come from a very open family.
Okay.
So we're all in the know. We're all involved. We're all holding our hands, going through it together. I think as well as my in-laws, maybe only my husband knew.
Okay.
On that end.
How about your friends?
Friends, I have a very small circle, so that small circle,
Okay.
I believe maybe the 2 or 3 of them knew.
Yeah.
It wasn't that many people, but I'm not really a sharer as well. I'm not really
Naturally.
I know you can't tell right now.
I feel like you are a big
No,
sharer.
but I do know what you
With
mean.
my people, like I haven't, so I don't, like I'm not like, not many people would know, not because I don't naturally have that relationship with many people. But with those people, even my business partner as well, when I say partnership, it comes in different forms. Because I stepped away from my business for over a year.
And she stepped up.
She was, in fact, we grew. It was a great, period, and I came back when I was ready, when the kids were a bit older. So partnership in the marriage with, your friends being your friends are your partners too, they're your soulmates, so, and also with business, I'll say I was lucky. And they all took it very well. They all held my hand. They all, like I said, the process was, I hate to say it, but it feels like it was easy.
So there's still so much misconception about IVF and the challenges. Were there any stigmas that you encountered when you were going through the process, or any kind of misconceptions that you might have had as well?
Not necessarily. Me, I do say I did feed myself with the, how you can go to the clinic, you wear your sunglasses or you wear your hats.
No, I don't know that.
It's a big thing. So it wasn't, who am I hiding from? We're out there for the same thing. We're out there for,
Okay, yes,
do you
yes,
understand? 'Cause it was an IVF
yes.
clinic, but I will spot people to, and I know they know me. I know they know them,
But
but
we're
we're
just
both doing
all-
like this.
Yeah.
And then when some, okay, I guess everybody doesn't want to make it a thing. So I fed myself, but I don't think anybody did that to me. I think I did that to myself because people around me didn't make me that way. Yeah.
You probably got to the point of understanding because you were on the journey. So before then, you're probably thinking like, oh, would I have judged somebody if I didn't have this
No, but
understanding
it's
now?
even as simple as maybe your first trimester when you don't want to tell anyone, and you go to a hospital that is mainly for women, and then you bump into
Yes.
someone and
You
they're
get
like, "Oh, you
nervous.
have I have a headache. Oh, I'm not feeling well," because you don't want to say you're here for your antenatal.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't ready to
Really?
tell. So if you're already feeling,
But I honestly, I don't even like that whole don't tell anybody in the first 12 weeks. I get it. It's because it's such a high risk. But I do feel like you also need to tell people, the right people, so that if something happens, you get the support you need, as opposed to being so nervous and having that nervous energy. Oh, something might happen. That in itself, the stress hormones can cause that.
Yeah, that's the time you actually need your village. You have the highest risk of something happening. That's when you need someone to come, give you a hug, talk to you about it, tell you their story.
Yeah, 100%.
So I know from personal experience, IVF is emotionally draining, financially causes a lot of pressure, and emotionally. But how did you manage, I guess, the challenges that you faced in the IVF journey? What advice would you give someone?
I'll definitely say be patient with yourself. and be patient with, you don't owe it to anybody but the people around you as well, because for a lot of people this is new.
Yeah.
For our parents, some of them have never ever heard about
Yeah.
this before, and it's a teaching journey. And I know in that moment you're not thinking about teaching other people, you're not thinking about other people in general, but be patient with yourself, be patient with your partners, be patient with, you know, everyone around you. You have to go in ready. You might feel, because I'm someone who, I know that you say you don't see it, but I'm extremely emotional on a normal day. Like, I'm such an emotional
You feel like
person.
a firecracker.
Girl, I listen to music and cry.
Oh.
I watch TV and cry, you know, so I'm very, very emotional. So those hormones, Namrata, anything, I was just crying. I think my eyes were red and watched the whole time, but not from a sad place, not from, but it's going to do things to you the way you don't recognize yourself. You're going to look at your body, you're not going to recognize yourself. You're going to look at the injection marks. Like, so many things are going to make you feel small or less than a woman in some regard. Like, my mates are doing this without all this stress, or my mom did this without any stress. Why is mine different? And you have your injection scars to remind you. You know, you have your appointments going in to remind you. You have your extractions to remind you. So just being patient with yourself is the first thing and most important thing I'll tell everybody. Honestly, you are not alone. You might not know. Even that next door neighbor might be doing that same thing you're doing. Your sister, your brother, you're not your brother. Your sister, your cousin, they may be trying. So be patient. And like I said, the finances are ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah, so that was going to be my next question. For like people that, you know, they're considering it, obviously for a lot of people, the financial aspect, especially when you've done it once, twice, it didn't work. Like, where am I going to get money again? Maybe, you know, maybe you have a business to expand, or you're about to buy this property and like, oh, do I want to take a chunk of that to try it again? Like, what's advice would you give to encourage them to take that next step?
Or what does our next step look like financially? Like on the real, like what does it look like in Nigeria?
Because a lot of people are not honest. So I'm not asking for figures, but like
I was.
What did you say?
Just like a ballpark.
Yeah,
like,
because
no,
like a lot of people, obviously there'll be different. This hospital will be different from this hospital.
Fair, yeah,
but
yeah.
like, is it something anyone? Not anyone, obviously, but I don't even know how to classify.
Like, how do people prepare themselves for it financially?
That's why I said that village is important, even pre-babies, because you might have to buy borrow still.
Yeah.
No one actually can tell you what it is beforehand.
Yep.
They can give you certain costs of certain procedures, but like for me, I had to do 3-4 rounds of extractions, and each round you're buying medicine, you're getting injections, you're getting scans. So there is no one-stop tailored, you know, price list for someone. And that's even why being open and honest about having IVF is really important, because when you are actually at least within your community, at least within your circle of friends, and you reach out and say, hey, I'm doing the IVF process, it's not been working. Someone else can tell you, oh, I've also done IVF and this is what I did and this is the technique I did, because every doctor is different. And what they recommend is different. Like the one thing I've seen, and when I've spoken to friends who've done IVF, no one's procedure is the same, not even because of their needs, but because every doctor has a different approach. So my doctor was very methodical. He specialized in women who had trouble conceiving themselves and higher, you know, women who were a little bit more higher in age. And so he put through, I guess you would say, tests and checks that then helped decide for every little decision. So I did a false round where they didn't put anything in me, but they took out a part of my lining to test it to see if it was ready for implantation, because I had so few embryos that every single transfer was a risk. Every single transfer was so much time and so much work to get to the state of an embryo, because each step you do, there's a fall off, there's a drop off. So 70%, 60%, you know, is success. 30% loss, 30% loss, 30% loss at each of the 5 steps. So to get to that one baby was so much more planning.
So what we say about the notion that IVF is for rich people? How would you address that?
Like Namrata said, you find your I'm sure, like you even said, like I'm sure there are doctors that charge.
Yeah, or maybe like
Or
some
even
kind of
countries as
charities
well,
or
and
foundations.
Thank you. I remember there was one baby walk. I don't know if they still do it, but it was for raising money for IVF for people in
Yeah.
Nigeria. Me personally, I went to a hospital who shout out to Dr. Emeka, I won't mention which hospital, but you could pay in installments.
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
Like I'm not Dangote's daughter,
Yeah.
and like
That's
like
really
Namrata
good.
said, like multiple rounds, so you might even budget for 1 or 2 rounds.
And then
You find yourself around 5, and you're like,
Yeah.
and sometimes family and friends might even look at you like, are you sure you should try this thing again? You're throwing money away.
Yeah.
Like maybe I don't want to borrow you because
Yeah.
this may be good. Try something else, So even helping, getting assistance, the other people might shy away because they're like, something's not right, something's not working. So there's so much going into it, but find a good doctor, someone who's understanding, a good hospital who understands that, okay, this is a process. Even if when the child is born, I finish making these payments, I'll make it. So I think that's my advice. But like you said, there's no set rule. But I would say it's expensive.
Yeah,
It's expensive.
I've heard like.
But I'd love to know, like, so I've got different friends that have been on the IVF journey, currently on the IVF journey. How do you best support your friend, or how do you even best support the husband, like for the husbands that are going through it as well, the partners? How do you support them without being intrusive or, avoiding the conversation if they've already told you?
I think with me, like we're just speaking off camera, that friendship thing is different people handling differently. But for the type of people I call my friends, I'll be doing that injection for you in your house if you need me there. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the level of support. In fact, I'm doing that right now for one of my very good friends. She was like, I'm scared to do this. I said, I got you. Her husband was scared. So be there for them in the capacity they need you, the capacity they allow you come in. Because like we spoke about earlier, there's some people still in that shame, not necessarily for themselves, but maybe their husband or their in-law or their mom told them, don't tell anybody this thing, these are our families, these are our family secrets, So as far as they allow you, the guys, I think they need the support group for themselves. I don't know who is speaking to them, but someone is speaking to them. It's true.
They need someone to speak.
It's true. Because, no, guys, imagine someone just lashing out at you every 2 seconds. It's easy to say, they're pregnant, understand, or it's hormones, understand, or it's this, but as a human, you break at...
They have their own emotions.
Even the loss, like the rounds, it affects them as well. But because we're the ones physically, which matters, going through it, we kind of, shun them to the side. So that's a very good question. I don't know if I have the right answer, but I think they need to speak to themselves more. And encourage themselves more. I don't know if we're the people or we're in the place to do that for them, but they should speak to themselves. They're not alone. And as for friends, I'll say the capacity they let you on to just encouragement. If they say this is not working, they want to do another round. Like I've had friends that said, okay, I've done 3, I'm not doing it again. It's surrogacy next. You are supporting that surrogacy. I have friends that say, okay, we're going to try 10 more times and I need you to donate to me that 10 more times.
No
if
problem.
You have let's even if 20 naira, let's do so be there for exactly what they need you to be there for.
Yeah, because the end goal at the end of the day is the baby.
It's the baby.
How you get there, whether it's IUI, whether it's IVF, they're just different roads to the same destination.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not about how you become a parent, but how much love you have to give.
Even if it's surrogacy, even if it's adoption, it's just how you get
I definitely started considering. Did you get to that point where you...
I looked at adoption as well.
Did you?
I did.
You said that it's such a strenuous, tedious process that it's very, very stringent.
To be honest, maybe I looked outside of Nigeria because I started this journey before I moved to Lagos. But when financially even, there was no difference in cost. And in fact, time-wise, unfortunately, it was years of a journey to do adoption. So it would have even taken me longer than my 5, 6, 7 rounds with everything in IVF.
You did 7?
Yes, because I didn't do a live transfer. So there, transfer wise, you have options. You have the option to freeze your embryos and come back at a later date, or you can at the time create embryos and straight after put them in. And again, because of my specific situation, they wanted an optimal environment all the way through. I had to do the extractions, create the embryos, restart my body and then start again. And everything was take a break. Everything was relax. Everything was about staying calm and just doing what was best
for you,
for me to be most ready for baby.
Oh, wow.
So as I said, they overstimulated me with the first doctor. So my second doctor, when I found him and we had our consultation, he even said, look, your numbers are not as awful as you think they are in your head. You still can take 6 months and you can try naturally. But anyone who knows me knows I want results. I wanted to I looked at the odds, I looked at the statistics, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get the best results going straight for IVF. So he put me on something that is called mini IVFs. So financially, it's a little bit less than a regular IVF round, but you have to do more of them. So it's not a cost savings. It's just a little bit less of it's like a baby version of IVF. So my drug dosage was less to keep the embryos from, the word he exactly used, which I'll never forget, is overcooking. He goes, your first round, your eggs were overcooked. You were too overstimulated. They were too chemically enhanced. And this is why every single one of your embryos died.
Okay, so an important question. How did you decide to change your doctors? Because I've never experienced this, but I feel like, I've gone through this with this doctor. He already knows everything. So for the second round, for the third, I don't want to go and start afresh. So for you to, because that's very bold.
Unfortunately, it takes a lot of following your gut and research. You really do have to self-research, because I started this journey knowing nothing, like absolutely nothing. And then it's funny, like I was given the option of IUIs here in Lagos, and I spoke to the doctor. I then went myself, and the doctor was like, yes, great, IUIs, you'll be good, you'll be great. And when I looked at the statistics of an IUI, no one tells you it's less than 10%.
Yep.
So you're putting in all that money for a procedure that has less than 10% chance of working in optimal conditions. So you do have to self-educate. You need that village. You need that community to then come to you and tell you their experiences.
Which is why it's so important to talk about it, because if you don't say, like, this is what I'm currently going through, nobody can really offer you the assistance at the time that you need it. And we're so good at talking about things after the fact of things being successful, as opposed to
like during
when we need it.
So did you use the same doctor throughout?
I did.
Okay.
I did. Well, he stops at like 3 months. Like once it's successfully implanted and you get the positive.
No, but I mean, like you had a total of 3 before.
I stayed.
So for the both of you then, from the point where you first started IVF to when you had a pregnancy that you were able to carry, how long was it? Like, how long was that journey? Because you obviously did multiple rounds.
No, just like 2 years. Oh, 1.5.
Just.
I was saying that's not just.
Oh, sorry. Actually,
but
that's
when you speak to people like Namrata, that what 5?
Okay, so
how many
how long
years?
did yours
Yeah.
take?
So when I finally found the right doctor, was getting the results.
From the first
I did my first IVF transfer procedure, everything, February 2021.
Okay.
Neil was born April
2022.
2022.
Okay.
But what I did in 9 months, I barely
So hers was even shorter than yours.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But I was, from the time I started to the time I finished, it was every other month, every other month, every other month.
That's a lot on your body.
Financially even.
Yeah.
There was no vacations that year, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was, the bills that we saw every other month was insane. And because I wasn't doing it here, because I was recommended a specific doctor who specifically had handled cases like mine, I was flying in and out.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing some things here, some scans, some blood work, but the heavy lifting wasn't done in Nigeria.
So typically, how long does it take? Because I have no idea. And you were saying to just a year and a half. So typically, people you've
Correct me if
heard
I'm wrong. It's like a 3-month process.
3 months,
It's
3
like
years.
3 months. Like
Okay,
the actual
okay.
testing, start injecting yourself, testing to see if
Less than.
Yes.
But that's what my first doctor did, and it didn't work. So I went in, I did everything. He was like, just stay, we'll get them in, we'll put them in. Like, this is fine.
Yeah.
and we didn't even get
Yeah.
barely halfway through the journey.
Yeah, and also when it doesn't work, you have to wait for like, at least for me, I had to wait for like 3 months
You didn't
before.
I didn't wait, but the difference
She was doing
is
mini IVFs.
my dosages were very
Oh,
slight.
okay. Yeah, that's true. Mini one.
So I did mini, like the amount of my hormones that was injected, the goal was to get 1 or 2 eggs every time.
Okay.
Get 1 or 2 eggs into embryo. So I could do it like with every 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Because my body wasn't needing to flush out all of that. It wasn't needing to reset. Whereas from the first time to the new doctor, it was 2.5, 3 months.
And then when you both got pregnant, did you feel like, is it just the first 12 weeks you were nervous like most people, or is it throughout there was a level of nervousness?
Do you want to go first?
You go first.
For me, like I spoke about earlier, I was more worried about the journey in pregnancy and birth than actually conceiving. So once it happened, that didn't scare me. I was scared am I big enough to carry these children? Are these children going to outgrow me? Which around the third trimester, something close to that happened. But that
you had
was
twins. You were carrying twins. Like, how did you actually even move? Like, that's crazy.
I gained more than my body weight, my normal weight in pregnancy. So they had to put me on a diet. I was diabetic. I was on bed rest. My third trimester, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't move in. Like my stomach was bigger than me.
Did you have a CS?
I had to. They told me if the kids stayed in for more than, I think it was like 28 weeks, they are now gotten to the point where they were too big for me to.
Wait, so you had an early delivery?
No, they stayed till 33, the end of 32 weeks. They stayed. I was begging the doctors, bring these children out now. They're ready. Because I know twins usually come out earlier. My friends have twins. But
mine came at
my doctor's
29.
like, no, let them big.
32 is still early.
Well, I guess because of your size.
Yeah, it was literally at the end of 32.
But it's at that point, like the babies are so much more developed than like if it was.
33 they were good when they came out full, like fully. No.
Did you spend any time in NICU?
Are you serious? No time. Babe, I was in and out. So like
she's like, I'm gaining my efficiency at this point.
Because I told you I was scared of pregnancy. So for the last month, I kept begging my doctor, like, you said they're good, let them come out. They will not go to NICU at this point, right? No, they're fine.
So
and then towards the end, my daughter stopped growing as fast as my son. And I'm like, okay, guys, this is a sign. Like, I couldn't have done this for the past 9 months and you want to spoil it for me in my 9th month.
Let's go. And you gave birth in the US.
I did.
So at what point did you move to the US after you got pregnant?
I moved while I was pregnant. So I relocated when I was about 5.5 months.
Properly relocated and you weren't going to come
the whole
back.
furniture in the house, give everything out.
Oh, so you didn't even just
say,
go
so
to have
I'm not coming back to the country. I don't know why I'm not supposed to be here right now.
Literally.
No, I actually left because, which I still know, I don't want to raise them here fully, like full time. Conversation fun that day. Maybe you'll call me back.
Okay, that's
Summarize.
That's very
this one.
interesting. Mine is the other way around.
They wanted to bash me.
No.
They're just very personal things. Nothing like I went to school here. I was here till college, and I came back. I rushed back right after college because I couldn't imagine myself anywhere else. So it's not like he disdained for Nigeria or whatever. But I did find the school system here kind of. It did a disservice to me. It did a disservice to me as someone who, and I went to good school. It's not like I went to like local schools, but it gave me like an inflated sense of ego. Just there's a lot of things that I did.
I mean, but that's just Nigeria. Like that's just
Nigeria.
Like, anywhere you go in the world, you can spot a Nigerian. Like, come on.
You don't need to weave your hair. But my friends, they come to school that they will shave their hair off, like drastic things like that will make you feel.
Because
and I
don't
like my kids look exactly like me. And I don't want to go too much into it. But and these are schools I'm supposed to be like. Foreign people, it's not like I'm special. So
but you got that.
I had to learn a lot of things here. I had to, but let's not go deep into that.
Okay.
But then let's not go deep in it. But it can be the flip side where you had maybe it was a little bit pompous or whatever, but that confidence you had in you can sometimes be a lot better than like the insecurity you get from being a minority.
I can see right now, like my teachers, like my kids' teachers, sometimes treating them like
preferential treatment because they're light.
Already. I don't know if it's the light thing. I don't know what it is.
That's a them issue though. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I don't know. I would prefer for my children to be treated better
Yes,
than any.
Now worse.
You know, when I went to school in Wales, you know, the teacher told me, because I came from Africa, that, oh, you used to eat this food, right? And I was like, what food? And she was like, you know, when you put all your waste in the trash?
Don't kill me.
She said I would have been.
Teacher said that.
Yeah, she said I would have been lucky to have that. And I was like, no, that's not true.
No.
And she was like, yes, you would have. And I'm like, no, we used to have ice cream. She's like, no, you would have been lucky. I went home that day and I said to my dad, who's white, I'm half Nigerian, half British, half Nigerian, was like, I used to eat trash when we were in Nigeria. And he was like, what?
Trash away.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, the teacher told me I used to do that. And that's what scares me
That's
about
the opposite, that side. Yeah, I understand it. We're still trying to figure this thing out. But
yeah, there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I left when I was like 5 months. Had the kids. I wouldn't say parenting was the hardest part that made me move back. I think it was the loneliness.
Yeah.
Actually, being
think
abroad, definitely.
When I deep it, like, it's not like I was overwhelmed. I was, I wasn't. They were actually pretty good. I felt like I could handle it. And my mom came, my sisters came, my friends came at different times. But I think my husband was working full time, so I felt like I wasn't talking to any adults all day. Or I'll go like 4 months, babe. I didn't lose like. Although, like, you can see me, I was looking for weight. Stop it. I mean, the opposite. I mean, like, I've been looking. I was looking for some pregnancy weight since I was like maybe 18 years.
Yeah,
like, I finally have. But
seems thick.
babe, when you look in the mirror and your arms are double the size, your face is 3 times the size, the pregnancy acne is still there, and the baby's already 4 months old. You're like, there's no what. So I think that's what's made it tough. And what scared me and chased me back to Nigeria.
You were losing yourself.
I was losing. That's exactly. I was losing myself.
We all do in motherhood, actually. Like, you really have to check yourself. It's so easy.
You have to be very intentional.
Yeah.
Very, very intentional.
I'm trying. Even till now, they say it takes about 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
As long as longer than it takes to make the baby, that's for sure.
100%. Yeah.
But that is the great thing about living here. We have so much support. We can take the time to see each other, to meet up, to have these conversations that when I was in the States, everyone is so busy.
It's a luxury.
Yeah, you live in isolation. It's very much about a nuclear family when you're abroad.
Yeah.
The people that live in your house, there's no capacity for others.
No, but I think even here, if you don't plan, and as I said before, if you're not intentional, you would still struggle to go for that quick lunch or to go for a drink with your friends. So I think you just need to prioritize.
That's a good point.
Prioritize it and not just think, oh, it's just me and these children. Like, if you are not there, they can't be there.
So true.
So it is important to prioritize. But when you're abroad, you have to think, okay, I still have to do the laundry.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, so, we're saying
prioritize
it's easier.
social just as much as you do other aspects.
Yeah, so it's easier in Nigeria, but if you still don't plan it, and you still are not intentional.
You don't make an effort.
Yeah.
Exactly, and understand the importance. So, like most of my friends, I need to drag them out the one time. Like, because it's long, you can't be asked to put on makeup. But then once they actually come for the 40 minutes and they enjoy themselves, and they're more gingered
to come next time
to do it again. So, yeah, it takes a lot of, it's not as easy as it sounds, but obviously
because of
it's much
motherhood,
easier.
because you're running around, you have... throw
Your
up
mind-
in your hair and
you get one message like, do you want to go out? You can mirror like, I haven't done my hair in 2 weeks. I haven't taken off my mustache.
Or even if you have, or like even sometimes like when your children go to your parents and like you want to go, you're like, no, I just want to watch TV and lie down.
Yeah.
Or you
get
feel
what I
guilty
mean?
about leaving your kids. Like, I didn't go out for the first year because I just didn't want to. I felt like, oh, am I being a bad
Being
mom?
a bad mom.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for lunch, nothing. Really? Unless my kids were with me. Like, they were my handbags, the both of them.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But now you're
for a
doing
whole year.
different with Alia.
No. Now my husband says, like, you don't stay in the house.
Second child.
Third child for me.
Well, yes,
girl.
second pregnancy.
Second pregnancy.
Second
Totally,
round.
for sure. Big
But
difference.
that's why things like babes and babies is really important. Because even for me, like, even meeting, I met you many years ago, but meeting you
But
guys
we never,
as
because
well,
we have been
never
having
hung out.
dates since.
I think I've known you for the past maybe
At least
9
10
years, 10
yeah.
years.
Wow.
And in the
And we
past
would never-
6 months is the most we've hung out.
So
Based
we'll
on
see
babes
each
and
other, like
babies.
family
Yeah.
events, but
You
like
know.
we've never intention like, oh, let's go out with the children or let's go out alone.
So it's definitely helping me personally. I can speak for myself, like bringing me out of my put your clothes on, go
Yeah,
out,
go out,
go
yeah.
do something. Even if it's other moms or with your kids, go do something.
But it's amazing, actually. All of you knew of each other in some capacity for many, many years.
Yeah.
And it's the kids that brought everyone together.
Yeah, it's the kids.
It's the kids.
It's the process of going on this journey of motherhood.
Yeah.
We have so much in common.
Exactly. Now.
Now,
You can meet somebody in Zimbabwe and you will have something in common because you know that she's a mom.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
honestly.
I just feel softer. I feel lighter. I feel more vulnerable around moms. Like, I just feel like a sense of
She
ease
understands.
in terms of speaking.
Yeah.
You know.
She understands what I'm going through, what I'm saying.
Really just wanted to thank you for coming out here, sharing with us, being open, being vulnerable, and talking with us about your journey.
Thank you so much for having me, girls. I had such a great time. I think this is my first official time speaking about this. So thanks for bringing me out of my shell.
Yeah, it's definitely these type of honest conversations that bring us together, bring other women together. And, you know, it's about creating hope to know that in the journey, there are rough patches, there are things you have to go through, but there is a light to the end of that tunnel.
Yeah. And I guess your journey to parenthood doesn't have to be like anyone else's to be valid.
No.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I felt safe. I felt happy to speak about it. So thanks for having me.
And, you know, we're going to have you back for
Yes,
other...
Yes, let's talk about the schooling one.
I'm sorry. Even about organizing our homes, because I feel like if the home is organized, I generally feel happier, and then I can focus on the children. I
Totally.
can focus on my personal life. So I think we need to note that down. Definitely coming
Please,
back.
I'll be happy.
When
Coming
things
back for
are
that.
in a disarray in my house, it actually mentally makes me in a disarray.
Stress.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Stress.
And then it adds to the stress. Oh, where is this? I can't find this. I knew I had that pacifier. Where is that toy?
And a lot of times the nannies are not even doing justice or the helps at home. It's sometimes you have to go in there and
stress.
reorganize. Go in there and see what you have.
So funny.
They
Me
create
and
stress.
Mr. B had this conversation at the beach, and I was like, "Oh, Amina is not here." That's how stressed. Like all I could think about was going home and unpacking, and how Amina is not here. She knows where everything goes. And like, "Oh, you don't have to do it today. Just leave it till tomorrow." I said, "Tomorrow, okay." Like
That's how husbands speak. You don't have to do it today.
He said, "Yeah, just why are you stressing yourself?" Yeah, like just go home, shower, let them sleep, and then in the morning you sort. I was like, "No, everyone needs to be clear. Unless I can't sleep."
We're already creating another topic.
Sorry.
It's literally the stresses of the administrative little things that we do in a day that no one accounts for or realizes.
And that's what creates the friendships in these times as well.
Yeah. So we'll leave you with this thought. Strength grows in the moments where you think you can't go on, but you do it anyway. So until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other.